Robinson is also known very affectionately as his sugar ship.
This is one of the greatest upsets in the history of fisticuffs, a fight that comes right out of the blue and shakes the world, but no one could call it a fluke. In front of 18,000 fans in the exhibition hall at Earl's Court on July 10, 1951, Randolph Turpin, a newcomer, humiliated Sugar Ray Robinson beyond recognition. He stripped him of his world middleweight title, leaving the whole arena in disbelief. But what actually happened on that fateful day? Before this fight, people thought Sugar Ray was the greatest boxer ever. He was in the middle of a flashy European tour, but for some reason, he didn't take this match too seriously. Even though Ray had fought 6 matches in 7 weeks, the tour was more about showing off, gaining fame, and living the good life rather than getting into serious fights. It was like a vacation with gloves on. Being a true superstar, Sugar Ray Robinson traveled around Europe like a king. He had his own hairdresser, a dance teacher, a golf coach, a singing instructor, and even a famous pink Cadillac. The big match against Randolph Turpin was set to be the grand finale of his tour. It was a title defense at Earl's Court in London against a contender not many people knew about. The fight went a full 15 rounds. Unimpressed, young Randolph Turpin didn't care about Sugar Ray's big, shiny reputation. From the start, he charged in, landing punch after punch, outboxing and outsmarting the guy everyone called the best fighter in the world. The challenger, who was 7 years younger than Sugar Ray, took control of the fight for the first 8 rounds. He pushed the action hard, but then he slowed down a bit for the next 3 rounds, probably because he had never fought more than 8 before. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Turpin found a huge burst of energy and totally wore Robinson out. People watching at ringside could barely give Ray more than 4 or 5 rounds. It was clear Turpin had done the impossible. When the final bell rang, the crowd couldn't believe it. There was no question in everyone's mind because Turpin deserved to have his hand raised by the referee. He had done what no boxer had done for some time: beat the unbeatable. But what is more astounding about this fight was that Turpin came out of the match without a scratch. But for Sugar Ray, he was already in bad shape by the 14th round. He barely made it through with a deep cut on his left eyebrow and another gash on his cheekbone. The eyebrow cut actually came from a head bump they had in the 9th round. After the fight, his doctor had to give him 14 stitches near his left eye. People who had watched Sugar Ray tear through Europe, beating 9 guys in just 2 months, couldn't believe what they were seeing. Some even told him he looked like a shadow of his old self. His fans were disappointed because this wasn't the unbeatable champ they remembered. To tell you how far they went, the bookmakers gave him a 1-4 favorite, while the odds against Turpin to win on points were as high as 20-1. To make matters worse, Robinson admitted, "I have no alibis, and I was beaten by a better man." What else could he say? As talented as Robinson was, he was used to having the upper hand. He was usually taller, had longer arms, and could move faster than his opponents. Plus, his punches were powerful and his hand speed was lightning fast, making it tough for anyone to beat him. But he has a weakness. Strong, tough guys who never stopped coming at him could give him problems. He had already had tough fights with Jake LaMotta, and in the future he'd struggle with Carmen Basilio and Gene Fulmer. These guys didn't back down, and that's when things got tricky for Sugar Ray. Turpin might not have had Robinson's experience, smarts, or fancy moves, but he was younger, stronger, and full of energy. His solid, muscular frame made it easier for him to take Ray's punches and keep pushing forward. With non-stop pressure and incredible stamina, the Brit outworked Robinson and brought the world middleweight title back to England. This fight was supposed to be the grand finale of Robinson's European tour, but instead, it crushed his reputation. Not only that, it brought him down to shambles. People wondered if Ray's best days were behind him. After all, he was now 30 years old and had fought in 132 pro bouts. Maybe the great Sugarman's time had come. Maybe it was time to hang up the gloves. However, the good times didn't last. Before anyone could think if Robinson's end had come, there was a rematch. And this time, everything Sugar Ray Robinson had worked for over the past 2 decades was on the line. His fame, his success, even the pink Cadillac he proudly showed off during his unlucky tour, everything was at stake. Can you imagine that? Years of blood, sweat, and tears, all riding on this one fight. Understand, Robinson wasn't just any boxing champion. He was a superstar, a true celebrity, and a legend, especially to millions of Black Americans who look up to him at a time when they were treated like second-class citizens. He was more than a boxer, he was hope. But if he lost again to a fighter barely anyone had heard of, it would all be over. His image, his reputation, everything would crumble. This wasn't just another fight. this was the fight that could define his entire legacy.
7.5 pounds, the challenger, Sugar Ray Robinson.
On September 12, 1951, just 64 days after the first match, sports fans knew they were in for something big with Robinson versus Turpin Part 2. This wasn't just a rematch, it was a showdown with everything on the line. Over 60,000 people packed onto the Polo Grounds in New York, smashing records for a non-heavyweight fight. And let's not forget the glitzy VIPs at ringside, stars from Hollywood and big names of the time, all there to witness history. The atmosphere was something else. You could practically feel the tension buzzing in the air. When the bell rang, the crowd got what they came for, 9 rounds of pure, fast-paced, nail-biting action. Robinson came out swinging, quite literally. He wasn't playing around this time. Right from the start, he launched 2-fisted attacks on Turpin's body, showing the power he was known for. By the second and third rounds, the Englishman was feeling those right hands hard. In the fourth round, Robinson landed some brutal uppercuts. But things started to change. Around the middle of the fight, Robinson slowed down. You know that moment when your favorite athlete starts to miss shots they'd normally make, and you get that sinking feeling in your gut? That is what was happening. Robinson's big swings were now missing their mark. For Turpin, he was shoving Ray around in the clinches, using his strength to throw him off his game. It was turning into a real battle of wills, a test to see who wanted it more. By the time they hit round 9, Sugar Ray Robinson was looking tired, and it showed. Turpin, with his superhuman strength and energy, seemed to have endless stamina, and the fight turned into a wild mess. Now, don't get me wrong, there was no doubt that Ray was ahead on points. He was still winning in that section, but Turpin was starting to close in. You could feel the energy to win as Robinson's fans began to sweat. They knew that if Turpin kept gaining ground, this could turn into his kind of fight, and that was a scary thought. In London, Sugar Ray Robinson had a nasty cut over his left eye, but in round 10, it reopened, probably because of a clash of heads. Suddenly, Robinson's face was drenched in blood, but instead of backing down, Sugar Ray showed more energy than he had in the past several rounds. He threw everything he had into a massive overhand right that thudded against Turpin's jaw. You could practically hear the smack as the Briton's legs wobbled. Hurt, but not out, Turpin tried to retreat and hold on, but Robinson was on a mission. He was searching for that perfect shot. Just when things looked tense, the referee stepped in to separate the fighters, and then came the unexpected moment. Turpin came charging back at Ray, arms wide open, almost as if he was trying to hug an old friend. Sugar Ray wasn't about to let that opportunity slip away. With one swift movement, he blasted Turpin with a massive right hand that sent the champion crashing flat on his back. Turpin managed to beat the count, but Sugar Ray Robinson knew he couldn't let him escape. Ray was ready to finish this fight. As he later said, it was do or die. With determination lighting up his eyes, Robinson stalked Turpin, forced him against the ropes, and then unleashed a ferocious storm of power punches. The day's champion was in trouble. His legs were gone, and he was trapped like a mouse in a corner. Turpin tried to bob and weave, slipping and dodging like a dance, but it was no use. Sugar Ray's punches were coming at him faster than ever, relentless and powerful. With his face still glistening in blood, Robinson was throwing everything he had. After unleashing a desperate 31-punch barrage in just 25 seconds, the referee, Ruby Goldstein, decided he'd seen enough. With just 8 seconds left in the round, he jumped in to stop the one-sided beating. Later, Turpin was not happy at all about the referee's decision. He poured his frustration out, saying he was rolling with the punches and his head was clearing. There were only seconds left. He didn't want to go down because he knew they would end it. However, what Turpin didn't realize was that he had failed to defend himself while Robinson was throwing punches at him. He was stuck on the ropes, just taking shots, which left the referee with no choice. Let's face it, he kind of blew it. The middleweight crown was back where it belonged with Sugar Ray Robinson and the good American soil. And just like that, there was no Robinson versus Turpin Part 3. Sugar Ray Robinson had not just regained his world title, but he'd saved his career in one of boxing's most famous and dramatic finishes. Clearly, Sugar Ray wasn't quite ready to hang up his gloves just yet. But he retired in 1965 with 110 knockouts to his credit. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1967 and died in 1989. So what do you think about the two fights? Let's hear your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Thanks for watching.